when it comes to time management, prioritizing our schedules, getting places on time, I often find that there's one key ingredient, and I'm not kidding, a thing that can make or break an entire day gets overlooked. And this is the transitional periods, the periods of time between one activity and the next, right? These I would consider as some of the most sensitive and crucial elements in our day-to-day schedules. All right. I like to think about it like a joint, right? We got our elbow joint right here. We got ligaments, we got tendons. I think I'm not a medical doctor, but I think that's what's in here. It's a pretty delicate area on our body, right? But it holds our bones together. It's where we flex, and that if that gets broken, that's going to cause a lot of problems, right? And we want to think about transitional periods in our calendar, from going from one activity to the next, kind of like our ligaments. They are sensitive, they're delicate, yet they can make or break the entire day. They hold things together. So we want to prepare for them. We want to go through transitional periods well. And I have found in my practice that, well, first, it's overlooked because they're seen as, they're not the meat and potatoes of the day, right? You think about going to work as an activity, you think about, spending time with your family as an activity, or whatever it is that you're doing. Like, these are the main events. And then the transition periods just kind of get overlooked, but they're crucial. So the first thing is not overlooking them. And then number two is actually considering that period of time can be quite difficult. In fact, a lot of emotions come up during that time. I don't know, let's say, for example, you get into a flow state at work and now it's time to shut things down and go home for the day. You might feel like you don't want to turn things off. Maybe you feel like, you don't want to go home for the day. You want to get everything done that you had on your to-do list. And maybe a sense of not accomplishing everything comes up. Maybe a sense of angst comes up. Am I ever going to be in this flow state again? So we don't want to shut down, right? But a lot of emotions come up during that time. And I think when those emotions come up during the transition periods, it can make it difficult for them to go smoothly, right? Because sometimes we want to, using that example of the emotions of, I didn't complete everything, or I'm anxious about it. If that comes up, if we don't consider that, then we're not ready to deal with it when it does come up, because it's going to. Maybe we don't even consider the practical elements of a transitional period. How long is it going to take to transition? What's required during the transition? Do I have to get in my car and go somewhere? Do I have to stop somewhere in between these two things that I have scheduled in my day? And sometimes we don't plan properly for the transition period. We don't consider, that it's going to take this long or that long. Again, using the example going from work to home, maybe it takes us, 15 minutes on a good day, but most of the time it takes 25. And we don't think much about it. We don't really plan for it. We just assume that it's going to be a good day. And now we're late to pick up our kids, something like that. We can avoid a lot of this just simply by planning ahead for transitional periods. And just to make it really simple, I want you to consider two ways of planning for transitional periods in your schedule this week. The first one is I want you to plan for the emotions that come up. This is the one that I feel like gets a lot of the clients I work with. And oftentimes they do want to transition from one to the next. Like, they understand, like, I want to go from work to home. Like, I want that to happen. But when we're caught up in the work, or if it doesn't have to be work, it could be maybe leisure activity. Maybe it's watching TV or playing a game on the computer. We don't want to stop. And so when we're told that we have to, or when we know we have to, it's uncomfortable. It can be distressing, a lot of feelings come up like that. So rather than hoping that those feelings don't come up, let's prepare for when they do. So let's say I'm playing a video game. I'm going to play for an hour, and then I have to transition to dinner time. I'm going to prepare that I'm going to feel uncomfortable doing so. I'm not going to like it. But now that I know that that's what I'm going to deal with, I'm going to feel that, I can say, okay, I'm going to turn my computer off, and I'm going to do 1 minute of deep breathing just to ground myself, and then I'll transition into dinner. This could help tremendously, right? So I want you to prepare for the emotions that often come up. And if you're not there yet, maybe you just take inventory of the emotions that start coming up in the transitional periods. This could go a long way to build some insight, help us get a sense of what we do need to target emotionally. And secondly, it's the practical thing. Take note of what's going right, what's going wrong in your transition periods. Are you timing them properly? Do you have the right kind of the resources deployed for your transition periods, right? So for example, to go from video games to dinner, what does that look like? Is it just one room over? You just simply have to step up and go, or do you have to help prepare dinner? Do you have to get people ready to get to the table? What's involved practically in your transition periods? Plan ahead for all of that, okay? And then from there, go through the motions. Now, you're not going to do it like right before the transition period, but maybe you make your calendar at the beginning of the week or at the beginning of each day. You take a look at what you have to do and you consider the transition period. Plan for the emotions that are going to come up. Plan for the practical things you need to do for the transition period. And the challenge this week is to make your transition periods as smooth as possible and see how that impacts greatly and positively the big things you need to do in that week. All right. So I hope this helps. I hope you learned something. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.